Let's start on tonight's performance. First of all, I suppose it may have come too late in the long grand scheme of things, but actually to halt a side like Hull and keep them out and keep them to one good shot in the whole game, you must be pleased with seeing that.
Well, it was a good all-round performance, I thought, battling away. I think what every Bristol City fan wanted to see was some spirit. Show that that they still want to play for the shirt and the pride of Bristol City Football Club. And I think everybody did that today to the man. And I think there's some good individual performances. We perhaps didn't get the shots on target we might have liked to just threaten a bit more, but certainly we had a good share of the game and everybody committed themselves and full marks to the players tonight.
How's this week been for you?
I think like everybody else. I mean, it was you expected the drop, unfortunately, because of the way things have been going, but in the back of your mind you always hang on to the possibility that you're going to get out of it, but when you suddenly realise you can't, it's the day after you have a very sort of hollow feeling, and I think you go through all the emotions, you go through this sort of almost despair, anger, denial, all the various things, and but once you've got that gone through that sort of process, you then come back to it and say, well, okay, League One next season, we have to make the most of it. I suppose like most people, focus on which teams you want to come down with you. Obviously, we would like either two of Barnsley, Peterborough or Huddersfield to come down. We don't want people with parachute payments coming down into League One to join us, because we want to be competitive next year. But we enter a very interesting summer, because when Scott can't hide away from the fact that we're going to have to rebuild the squad. We will be losing some of our players without a shadow of doubt. They're going to be looking for better things, i.e. Championship football. They're going to be looking for higher wages than we can probably pay them in League One. So we have to face up the fact that players are going to go, but that means players are going to be coming in. And those players will be coming in hopefully hungry and determined to compete for Bristol City Football Club and get us back up into the Championship.
Watching on, can you look back at something in the season? Can you pinpoint perhaps one or two things that you feel perhaps hasn't gone for Bristol City or hasn't been right, which has culminated in how we've got to this point?
In reality, we just lost too many games. I mean, if we could turn some of those games into draws, we'd still be in contention now, possibly. And so defensively, we haven't been good. And we've never really replaced, when Keith Millen was manager, we had Stephen Corker for a year. I know everybody sort of lambasts Keith, but he had Stephen Corker at centre half, and that gave us a decent season. We couldn't replace him the following season, and we haven't replaced him since. And I think, with all due respect to the players who've been playing in the back four, done valiantly all season, we need that dominant centre half. When we came up from League One before, we had Jamie McComb, who's doing the same job I think with Doncaster this year, and we need that player, and we haven't had that player for a number of years, and I think we just desperately we need to find it.
Why didn't it happen, Steve?
I think looking back on it, we probably concentrated too much. Or Derek was focused on the fact that we could get Sam Baldock and we could get Stephen Davis, and didn't want to lose out on those players by pushing for by keeping, if you like, his powder dry for centre half. And I think if he had his time over again, he would push for the centre half, get that sorted out first, and then worry about the strikers later. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but in any league, you've got to be able to win 1-0. I don't know how many clean sheets we've had this season. I think probably 4, all a bit late in the season.
Another no.
Yeah, and the one tonight, which doesn't count for a lot in the summary of things, but that's what we needed, and we just haven't had it. When you look back at the players we brought into that position, Damien Stewart didn't work for us, and Mikey, did a good job for us, but I was surprised, he didn't come on board at the beginning of the season, but he went off to Middlesbrough because they offered him a longer contract. Other players, were coming to us, and then we were gazumped basically because they were offered more money elsewhere. And we feel like we'd used up our allocation of funds on the strikers, things we got there, so we weren't going to push ourselves out to that limit for those people. Maybe, in hindsight again, we should have done it just once to get that person on board. But we haven't, and here we are, and we go again.
But now you go the other way, don't you, in terms of finances? You look at League One, 60% cap on the salary to turnover. It's got to be a big change around this summer, hasn't it?
Well, it is. I mean, let's do the mathematics. I mean, our turnover is 11 to 12 million, and let's assume we can maintain that next year. Bear in mind we're going down a division. 60% of that is £6 to £7 million. So that's what we've got to spend on wages. That's a lot of difference from, look at last year's statutory accounts, where, the total salary was 18 million, probably 16 to 17 million of that was players. It's a big difference. So that's what fans have got to appreciate, that that's what we've been investing in players and in the playing side to maintain our championship status and to be a championship side. I know it's difficult to accept when you've been relegated and they say what a waste of money and we didn't get the right players in and all the various other things, but we tried, we invested, we tried, and we failed, but we'll go again. And maybe the League One will be a blessing in disguise. Maybe it will give us that financial discipline, get players in on wage levels which the club can sustain on its own income without me having to top it up all the time, and push on from there. And if it can do that, that would be a great thing.
It's going to be weird with a head coach now who's not going to come to you every knocking on your door trying to get more and more money from more and more players all the time. I'm
sure there'll still be a few knocks on the door, Adam. I don't think that will go away, but the fact is we won't be able to do it. What we have to do going forward is, we have to be successful on the pitch, we have to be successful in our transfer activity and in our recruitment and either getting those players into our team or selling them on at a profit. We have to perhaps generate some money from cup runs. When was the last time we generated money from a cup run? I've been despondent over the last couple of years on the fact that we just completely failed in that area, and I can't put my finger on it, but we've had a great opportunity to get past at least one or two rounds of the League Cup and the FA Cup, and we've just failed miserably. So maybe it's we've got our just desserts at the end of the day, and the fact we're not a championship side next season. We're going to be in League One, and we've got to pay our penance and come again. But that's exactly what we've got to do.
Were you starting it already? Derek was quoted when he left us saying he had to cut the wage bill by half. Was that starting the process?
Well, what we ask all managers to do is for value for money. And I think my statement has been over the years, and John and Keith have taken it on, is that find the players, and if we can afford to bring them in, we'll bring them in. And I think overall we've done that. But no, we weren't trying to halve the salaries necessarily, but we want less players on the books and more realistic wages, more performance-related wages, and unfortunately we're in a marketplace where to be perfectly honest, agents and things have dictated what's been happening, and the markets have been taking on. The wage bill here is a lot higher than ours. I won't say it because they've told me in confidence in the boardroom, but we saw the Leicester City figures for the previous year, 27 million. We're not in that level. And Bristol City Football Club as a football club cannot sustain it. It can only sustain it if somebody like me puts that money in. I've adopted a policy of backing the managers as best we can, supporting it and making sure the club stays in business. And I think I want to stress that one point is because, again, people have been talking about the debt and everything else. Well, that debt is owed to me, and yes, I could call that debt in, and that could be bad news for the football club. I'm not going to call that debt in. I put it in there because I wanted to invest in the football club. But it does show the cost of keeping this club at that level. And I'd like to think the supporters will say, well, we've had 6 years in the Championship. It hasn't worked out quite the way we wanted it, but at the end. But we understand that. We'll be patient when we go into League Two, and or League One. Yeah.
Calm down.
The old Division Two, as I. But and let's look forward now to some exciting times of seeing the academy youngsters coming through, getting the recruitment in place, which we have now with Keith Burt, and sorting that through, and seeing some good young players come into the club from outside, and moulding that into a squad that plays good football and takes us on. And I think most Bristol City fans will like that, and I certainly am. I'm quite excited by the prospect of seeing that happening, because in a way that's the philosophy that we've always wanted to adopt. We were one of the first clubs to have an academy, but the academy system let us down in the first instance. We spent far too much money doing that, but I think we've got the academy system right. Hopefully we'll pass the audit and be category 2, and that will put us in a great position going forward. I think the under-21 league has been a bonus for us this year, and I think will be a bonus going forward, because it allows us to basically give football to these younger players coming through. And yes, on the pitch we'll be able to blood these youngsters a bit more, because League One allows us to do that. And League One's going to be difficult. Nobody's under any illusions that it's going to be easy to get out of it. It took us 9 years last time to do it. Hopefully it won't take us long this time, but we're going to have to work hard, but it's going to be exciting times. But the fans are going to have to stay with us and hopefully appreciate that stepping down a league might not be the end of the world, because it might lead us on to better things going forward.
Well, people see you entwined with the rugby as well now, and living away from Bristol. Do you wish you'd stayed closer? Did you look back now?
I couldn't do it. Wishing and being able to is two different things. I couldn't do it, and I moved away to Guernsey for specific reasons, for lifestyle reasons, and I'm enjoying it out there, and I'm enjoying. I do spend a lot of time in Africa now. doing work over there, and so I'm enjoying doing other things. I have a real passion for Bristol City Football Club. I have a real passion for sport in Bristol, and that's why the Bristol sport aspect has come about, and that's why I was happy to help the rugby club out and to look at how the rugby club and the football club can benefit each other. That's not to say that I'm any less have any less desire to see Bristol City in at the top of the game, hopefully in the Premiership at some time in the future, and for the matter, Bristol Rugby in the Premiership there. I want to see top quality sport in Bristol with Bristol City Football Club and Bristol Rugby Club and any other aspects of sport we might get involved with. So fans, they will all look for excuses and they'll all look for scapegoats, and the fact we got relegated from the Championship to League One this season falls squarely on my shoulders as the owner of the football club. I invest in the football club. I have ultimate responsibility for who runs that football club and takes it. And I appoint them, if you like, as a shareholder. And I'm confident in the people I've got there. But you can rest assured that I will continue to take that, look very closely at what's going on and help wherever I can to make sure that Bristol City Football Club is successful in the future.
What is your message to the support? We had 98 here this evening.
Absolutely fantastic. Admittedly, some of them probably had booked it earlier and were always going to be here, but I think it goes to show that when they actually announced that there was 98 people from Bristol City here, they got a round of applause from the crowd here. Appreciation. That's proper football support. They love a football club, and there's a lot more like them back at home. And it hadn't been on TV. I'm sure there've been a few more here. But Bristol City Football Club has got a good core support. We're not one of the biggest supported clubs in the country, but we've got some very loyal fans and very some vociferous fans at times in what they say, but they're passionate about their football club. And it was good that the players put in a performance for those 98 fans tonight, and for everybody watching back on the television, because at least tonight we can go to bed thinking we've drawn 0-0 with a team that's going to probably go up into the Premiership, and we showed some steel in our play and some spirit, and the football club is alive and well and kicking, even though we're going to be playing League One next year.
One final word on Sean O'Driscoll. What's he like to work with for you? As what you speak to him, I assume, quite a few times.
Sean keeps himself to himself, I think, is the way to describe it, and I think it's been a little bit difficult for us to get used to, because we've been used to managers being outgoing and if you like, asking for things more. Sean is very focused on what he's doing, but he's passionate in what he's doing, and I think what we've got here is somebody that has bought into the message that we were trying to get across, which is to develop young players and bring good players in and develop a team that we can afford to have on the football field, and certainly he's bought into it and we've bought into what he's saying, and I think it's fair to say we're getting used to one another. If I'm honest, it's not been the easiest transition from Derek to Sean, but I feel very comfortable with the situation. I think if Sean wants to be a long-term manager at this football club, I think he's got, there's a possibility for that to be the case, because we all want to build something. It all depends what happens on that green grass out there, of course, at the end of the day, but as long as we can play some good football and keep our heads above water, then I've always wanted to have a long-term team in place. Last time we had it close to that was with Gary. I got a good feeling that Sean will be the next one, but we'll have to wait and see.